and welcome to the Botanica and Bloom channel. I am Megan. I am a wedding planner, florist, designer, and lifestyle writer. Today I want to talk to you about something that is non-wedding related. It's about the art of baking bread. I recently wrote a blog post that actually talked about how I ended up simplifying my life, all because of one thing. And the whole reason that I want to go back to basics is to prove what you can make with just flour, eggs, and water. All because of one thing. You can go read the blog post through the link in my bio, but for now I want to stick to why we're here, making bread. This is actually Dan Leader's 4-hour baguette recipe, and I've adapted it to how I've made it over the last little while myself. I love this recipe because it's so easy. I actually have it memorized. I don't even need to look at the recipe anymore. It's that easy. And I actually make this baguette in less than 4 hours. All about simplifying, right? This baguette is so perfect. It's crunchy on the outside, soft and fluffy on the inside, and you pretty much want to eat the entire loaf. Forget about the elaborate recipes. We're going back to the beginning. This baguette is a staple in our house. I probably make it a couple times a week. Only 4 ingredients, and one of those being water. You're sure to have everything already in your pantry. While this recipe does take some time for the yeast to activate, the flour to hydrate, and then of course the dough to rise in different stages, that you can do one step, walk away, do something else in your house, and then come back and do the next step. I want to concentrate on just the simple flavors that go into recipes. The gatherings that bring us together to break bread and share food. That's why I'm starting the first recipe of this series with this perfect baguette. The first thing we're going to do is take 1 teaspoon of yeast, put that in our bowl, and take 1.5 cups of water at 115 degrees. And we're just going to pour that into our bowl and whisk it so it all blends in. We're going to let that sit for 5 to 10 minutes and then we'll come back and check on it. Okay, in the 5 minutes it took for that to get nice and yeasty, I was able to pour myself a glass of wine. And that's perfect for a snowy day like this. The next thing we're going to do is add our flour. So this is 3.5 cups of all-purpose flour. You don't need any specialty flour or starters for this bread. I'm going to add it to the bowl. And I'm going to stir it with a fork. This allows the flour to absorb the moisture and allows it to hydrate properly. I like to add the salt in on top of the dough that's hydrating so that I don't forget to add it in.
I've forgotten to leave the salt out of this recipe more than once. So I always like to make sure I get it in there, and that way when I'm ready to knead, I don't forget it.
When your dough has come together, we're going to transfer it to a lightly oiled bowl. It's okay if your dough isn't perfectly dry. In fact, it's actually okay to work with a sticky dough when it comes to bread. With that being said, we don't want it to be too sticky. Use your judgment. If it doesn't come together in a ball at all, it's definitely still too sticky, and you can use just a tablespoon of flour at a time to get to the right spot. So you can actually see that this dough is a little bit sticky, but that's okay. We're gonna let it rise. In this bowl. And we're going to cover it with a damp tea towel. What I'm going to do is put it into my oven, which has a bread-proof setting. So I've turned that on, and we're going to place the bread in there for about 40 minutes, and then I'll check on it and let you know how it goes. As expanded to about double in size, it's time for you to do the next step. Now, because my dough is a little bit more moist and sticky than I like to work with, I've put a little bit more flour on the table than I normally would. This allows me to work that flour into the dough and just get a little bit of a less sticky dough. You can already see the difference that that's made. Now we're going to spread our dough into a rectangle. By just gently pulling on the dough until you get a rectangle about yay size. Now we're going to fold it like an envelope. So we're going to fold it once in the middle, this side in the middle. You can see the crease in the middle here. It's not really the best dough for picking up to show you. Once this way, once this way. Again, crease in the bottom. We're going to put it back in our bowl, recover with our damp towel, and we're going to put it back in the oven. Okay, we are back after the second rise, and our dough is nice and beautiful now. We're going to break this dough. I'm going to capture some of the flour that's left here. We're going to break this dough into 2 loaves. So about there is right down the middle. I'm not super concerned about them being perfectly even. And then we're just going to roll it into a baguette form. So I've made these baguettes in actual traditional baguette form where it's long and skinny, and I've also turned them into actual loaves of bread. I'm going to do a medium-sized one here where it's not super long and skinny, but it's also not a full-size slice of bread. When in the oven, I'm going to cook it on this cast iron. So I'll go ahead and let these actually rise right on the cast iron. So I'll make them pretty much the same size. I can feel a big air bubble in there, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just the holes in the center of the bread. And again, they don't have to be perfectly matching in size. Okay, so we'll recover that with our damp cloth. I'm gonna go get the oven ready at 475. And I'm also going to put a cast iron pan in the oven to heat up during that time. When the oven is ready, I'm going to throw a couple of ice cubes into the cast iron, and that's what gives the baguette its crunchy exterior, but gives it time to cook on the inside as well. Okay, so now that our baguettes are ready to go in the oven, I'm just going to do a quick snip in 3 different slices on each baguette. You can also use a really sharp knife, but I find this is way easier. And simplicity is key, right? Now I'm going to put this in the oven at 475 with 2 ice cubes that go into the preheated cast iron. We bake that for about 25 minutes, but keep an eye on how brown it gets. When it's nice and toasty, that's when it's done. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. For the full recipe and more information, visit www.botanicaandbloom.com, which is all in the description for you.